Welcome to Camp Victory.
Oh, Camp Victory. I thought this was Camp Liberty.
Oh, no, they changed that about a week ago. Victory sound better.
So what do you got?
The car has been parked illegally.
Set against the tense and unpredictable backdrop of the Iraq War, the story follows an elite U.S. Army explosive ordnance disposal unit whose daily mission is to locate, disarm, and survive improvised explosive devices scattered throughout occupied streets and hostile neighborhoods. The environment is relentlessly oppressive, with danger embedded into ordinary routines and silence often proving more threatening than gunfire. Every step outside the armored vehicle carries the possibility of sudden death, and the psychological toll of this reality weighs heavily on each member of the team as they attempt to maintain discipline, focus, and emotional distance in a place where chaos can erupt without warning. The unit's fragile balance is disrupted when a new sergeant is assigned to lead the team after the loss of their previous commander. This new leader immediately stands out for his unorthodox methods and fearless attitude toward explosives, approaching bomb disposal with an almost reckless calm. Where protocol and teamwork normally dictate strict procedure, he relies heavily on instinct, improvisation, and personal confidence. His actions place him at odds with his squad mates, who must trust him with their lives despite being deeply unsettled by his disregard for established rules and safety margins. As missions unfold, the film closely observes the psychological differences between the sergeant and the men under his command. One squad member struggles with intense anxiety and a constant awareness of mortality, counting the days until his deployment ends and dreaming of a return to normal life. Another attempts to bury fear beneath professionalism and routine, clinging to structure as a defense against mental collapse. In contrast, the sergeant appears most alive when facing imminent danger, treating each bomb as a puzzle and each near-death experience as a test of personal skill rather than a warning. The narrative avoids grand battlefield spectacle and instead focuses on street-level encounters, where tension is built through silence, observation, and suspicion. Civilians watch from rooftops and windows, their intentions unclear, turning everyday objects into potential threats. A single phone, a piece of trash, or a parked car becomes a source of dread. The bomb squad operates under constant surveillance, not knowing who might trigger an explosion or open fire. This persistent uncertainty becomes as dangerous as the explosives themselves. As the team conducts repeated missions, cracks begin to form in their emotional defenses. The sergeant's fearless demeanor begins to blur into obsession, suggesting that his bravery may stem from an addiction to danger rather than courage alone. He appears detached from normal human connections, more comfortable in the presence of explosives than among people. His squad mates, meanwhile, grow increasingly frustrated and frightened, forced to follow a leader who seems indifferent to his own survival and, by extension, to theirs. Moments away from combat reveal how deeply the war has altered the soldiers' sense of reality. Brief encounters with Iraqi civilians, attempts at casual conversation, and rare off-duty scenes highlight the distance between the battlefield and ordinary life. Even humor feels strained and temporary, quickly overtaken by the knowledge that the next mission could be fatal. The film presents war not as a series of victories or defeats. The tension escalates as missions become more complex and unpredictable, with explosives designed not just to kill but to lure and trap those attempting to disarm them. The sergeant's willingness to push boundaries sometimes results in success, but it also amplifies the sense that disaster is inevitable. His squad mates are forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. Their survival may depend on someone who thrives on risk in ways they cannot understand or control. Underlying the action is a broader commentary on modern warfare and its psychological consequences. The story explores how constant exposure to danger reshapes identity, turning fear into routine and adrenaline into necessity. The soldiers are not portrayed as invincible heroes but as individuals adapting, sometimes dysfunctionally, to an environment that rewards emotional numbness and impulsive bravery. The war becomes less about ideology or strategy and more about endurance, habit, and the struggle to maintain sanity. As the deployment progresses, the contrast between the soldiers' internal worlds becomes more pronounced. One man becomes increasingly desperate to escape the war's grip, counting down to the end of his service as though survival alone is a victory. Another begins to accept the inevitability of loss, focusing solely on getting through each day. The sergeant, however, seems incapable of imagining a life without danger, his identity so intertwined with combat that peace feels foreign and unsettling. When moments of extreme violence erupt, they are sudden and disorienting, reinforcing the randomness of survival. Losses are not given time for mourning, as the demands of duty push the team forward almost immediately. The emotional weight of these moments lingers quietly, expressed through silence, brief glances, and restrained reactions rather than overt displays of grief. This restraint underscores how war suppresses emotional expression in favor of operational efficiency. The story also examines the idea of control in an uncontrollable environment. Bomb disposal offers the illusion that skill and precision can neutralize chaos, yet the film repeatedly challenges this belief. Even the most experienced technician cannot account for every variable, and success often feels temporary. Each disarmed bomb is followed by another threat, reinforcing the notion that mastery in war is fleeting and incomplete. As the narrative moves toward its conclusion, the soldiers face the reality of returning home, a prospect that brings relief for some and discomfort for others. The transition from combat zone to civilian life is portrayed not as a clean break, but as a psychological shift fraught with confusion and detachment. The ordinary world, once longed for, now feels distant and strangely hollow to those who have adapted to constant danger. The ending leaves a lasting impression by questioning what it truly means to survive war. Physical survival is only part of the equation. Emotional and psychological consequences endure long after deployment ends. For some, leaving the battlefield represents freedom and recovery. For others, it exposes an unsettling dependence on the intensity of combat, suggesting that the war has permanently altered their sense of purpose and identity. Through its grounded approach, the film delivers a raw and immersive portrayal of modern conflict, emphasizing personal experience over political messaging. It presents war as an environment that rewards recklessness as much as discipline, and bravery as much as obsession. The absence of clear moral victories reinforces the idea that survival itself becomes the primary objective, overshadowing broader goals. The performances bring depth and realism to the characters, capturing subtle emotional shifts and internal struggles without excessive dialogue. The focus on realism extends to the visual style, which favors immediacy and tension over spectacle, drawing the viewer into the soldier's perspective. This approach enhances the sense of authenticity, making each mission feel immediate and unpredictable. Ultimately, the story stands as a study of human behavior under extreme pressure, exploring how individuals respond differently to fear, responsibility, and mortality. It avoids glorifying war while acknowledging the strange pull it can exert on those who live within it. By centering on the bomb squad's experiences, the narrative reveals how danger can become routine, how adrenaline can replace normal emotional responses, and how the line between courage and compulsion can quietly disappear. The lasting impact of the film lies in its refusal to provide simple answers. It portrays war as a complex psychological landscape where heroism and self-destruction can coexist, and where the greatest battles are often fought internally. Long after the final scene, the questions it raises about identity, addiction to danger, and the cost of survival continue to resonate, making it a powerful and unsettling reflection on modern warfare.